This is the Eyelet Ovals stitch pattern, which creates a beautiful lacy, highly textured and stretchy fabric. Hey, it's Denise from loom.com, and I'm really excited to bring you this version of the Eyelet Ovals because this garter portion right here changes everything. The highly textured portion looks like a ribbon that is woven into belt loops, and it's just beautiful. Now it's not 100% reversible, so on the back side you don't see those ribbons. However, because you still see the eyelets, the ovals are still apparent and it's still beautiful. Now a heads up, this video is for the stitch pattern only, and so I'm not going to be showing you a cast on and cast off, but I will give you the details of my swatch, including my color change right here. So make sure to stay till the end and I'll give you the details of everything. Alright, I'm going to be using a large gauge loom, a single strand of worsted weight yarn, and stitch markers. Alright, well, let's get looming. Many of you will ask about the stitch marker placement, so I want to quickly go through that. I'm going to be knitting from right to left and start the fabric with one single knit stitch. That is not part of the pattern. The pattern starts right here. This is the first of 10 stitches that make up the stitch pattern, and so this is my first repeat, starts here, and then I counted off 10. Here's where my second repeat starts, and here is where my third repeat starts, and then I end with one single knit stitch, and it has a charmless stitch marker. We're knitting flat, so I'm going to turn around, and when I turn around I count off 10, and in this direction I end with a stitch marker. Alright, that is my stitch marker placement. Let's start with row 1. We're going to be knitting 4 purl stitches, 2 knit stitches, and then 4 purl stitches. So remember that I have this one knit stitch as my edge, so I'm going to knit that off, and that's not part of the stitch pattern. That we will start here, and we'll take the working yarn and put it under the existing loop, take our hook from the top and scoop up to create a new loop. You take the existing loop off the peg, put the new loop on the peg, and pull your working yarn to tighten that stitch. That was the first of 4. So here is purl number 2. I scoop up, create a new loop, take the old one off, put the new one on, and pull. That was 2. And then here is purl number 3 and purl number 4, and that's going to be followed by 2 knit stitches. And you can use the U-wrap version where you half wrap the peg and then knit off if that's more comfortable for you. For me, in this direction, the flat is more comfortable, and for that you just place the working yarn loosely over the existing loop and take the bottom over the top and knit off. Alright, that's going to be followed by 4 more purl stitches, and you guys already know how to do those. And that makes your 10 stitches for your pattern, and then you repeat those as necessary. All right, and then you're ready for row 2, which is super easy. You're basically just going to knit your row. All right, so I knit off my edge, and then I'm just going to keep going. So you see that I use the U-wrap and the flat interchangeably. No big deal. All right, now pay attention. Rows 3 and 4, you're just going to repeat rows 1 and 2. And if that's a little confusing, let me break it down for you. For row 3, you're basically going to do the purl 4, knit 2, purl 4, and then for row 4, you're just going to knit the row. You're then ready for row 5. Well, you will purl 4, knit 2, purl 4, and since you already know how to do this, I'll let you watch me knit while you listen to this cool little music. By the way, if you like my stitch markers, I'll have a link in the description. Alright, you're going to repeat that as necessary, and then you're ready for row 6. And this time you're going to knit 3, E-wrap 1, knit 2, E-wrap 1, and then knit 3. So here's my edge, which is not part of the pattern. And now we're knitting in the opposite direction, because remember we're knitting flat. So we're going to do these 10 pegs right here. And we're going to start with those 3 knit stitches. This is the U-wrap. You can use the flat, half wrap, knit off, and that's 3 of those. You already know how to do that. For the E-wrap, I want you to pay attention. If you've never done this, you're going to take your working yarn, and from the back you're going to completely wrap the peg. Then you're going to take the bottom loop over the top and you're going to knit off. That was an E-wrap. Now you're going to do 2 knit stitches after that. I'm doing 2 U-wrap knit stitches. Again, you can use flat. And then we're going to do that E-wrap where you're going to come from behind and completely wrap the peg and take the bottom loop over the top and knit off. And now we do 3 knit stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. Now you repeat those 10 as necessary for your project, and then you're ready for row 7. And this one's a bit tricky. You're gonna knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2, yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 2. Sounds a lot more difficult than it actually is. Just stay with me. I'm going to walk you through every single step. So let's start with those 2 knit stitches, and here in this direction I usually do flat, and then we're going to work these 2 pegs right here in order to do the knit 2 together at this peg, and then come over to the next one. This is where the yarn over will be. So in order to have a yarn over, you need an empty peg. And in order to do a knit 2 together, you need 2 loops. So we're going to take the loop off of the yarn over peg, unravel it, and pull it over to the previous peg. And that's where we need the knit 2 together. So we need 2 loops there. And that's what we have right here, 2 loops. And we're going to take the working yarn and put it over those 2 loops and then knit them off. Now you could do them one at a time or together. I prefer to do them one at a time. And that was the knit 2 together. Now for the yarn over, you basically just take the yarn and place it over that loop. It needs to anchor somewhere, so the next 2 pegs is where you're doing those 2 knit stitches, and that will secure that yarn so it stays put. And then we're going to the next 2. Now we're doing a yarn over, knit 2 together. So you take the yarn off that peg where the yarn over needs to be, and you stretch it a little bit to make it so that it can get to the next peg. So there's your yarn over, and the next one is where your knit 2 together is. It flipped from when we did it the last time. So your peg is empty, and then you have 2 loops here. So take the working yarn to do the yarn over, just put it over that peg, and it will anchor at the next peg where you're doing those knit 2 together. Okay, you just knit off those 2 loops and you have your yarn over. Now I want you to see what those yarn over look. You see how you can easily see where we did those yarn overs, and that's where you're going to have the eyelets. That's how you get them. And then we're going to end with 2 knit stitches, and that ends your row. You're then ready for row 8, and for this row you're going to knit 2, E-wrap 1, knit 4, E-wrap 1, and knit 2. And we're going to go a little bit faster because you guys at this point are experts. After my edge, I'm going to start with the 2 knit stitches and follow that with 1 E-wrap, and then we're going to do 4 knit stitches, and you will be knitting off those yarn overs. So they seem kind of funky, but it's okay, it's going to be fine, so don't be concerned. just knit off those 4 knit stitches and then do 1 E-wrap and end this row with 2 knit stitches. All right, repeat as necessary, and then you're ready for row 9. And for this row, you're going to be doing your knit 1, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 4, yarn over, knit 2 together, and knit 1. At this point, this is going to be a piece of cake for you guys. So first you're going to do that knit 1, and then you need to do a knit 2 together, yarn over. So you have that first peg right here, and that's the yarn over. So you need 2 knit stitches here. You're going to take the stitch off of the one that follows, unravel that stitch and bring it over, because that's going to give you 2 stitches and 1 empty peg. So the peg with the 2 stitches, you're going to knit them off together for the knit 2 together, and then you're going to take your yarn and lay it loosely over that next peg for your yarn over. Then you do 4 knit stitches, and again you're doing them over some yarn over, so it looks kind of funky. Not to worry. And now that you did your 4 knit stitches right here, now you're going to do a yarn over, knit 2 together. So in this one, the yarn over is first, so you take the loop off the peg, unravel it, and bring it over to the peg that needs the knit 2 together. Take your yarn, working yarn, lay it over the empty peg for the yarn over, and then knit off those 2 stitches together for the knit 2 together, and you end the row with 1 knit stitch. And then continue as needed, and then you're ready for row 10. And on row 10 you're going to knit 1, E-wrap 1, knit 6, E-wrap 1, and knit 1. All right, let's go through this one real quick. After my edge, I knit doing the U-wrap, then I E-wrap 1, and then we're going to do those 6 knit stitches. Again, in this direction, it's just more comfortable for me to do the U-wrap. You can do the flat or even the true. After those 6, you're going to do 1 E-wrap, and then you're going to finish with 1 single knit stitch. All right, then you're ready for row 11. For row 11, you're going to do a knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 6, then yarn over, knit 2 together. Alright, so I need my knit 2 together on peg 1 and my yarn over on peg 2. So I take the loop off of peg 2, I unwind it and move it over to peg 1. And then I'm going to take my working yarn, put it over those 2 loops, and knit off 2 together or 1 at a time, doesn't matter. Then you take your yarn, lay it over that peg where the yarn over goes, and you're going to anchor it using the next peg, and you're knitting 6. So knit 6, and once you're done with those 6 pegs, it's time to do a yarn over, knit 2 together. So you take the loop off the peg that needs the yarn over, and you're going to move it to the peg that needs the knit 2 together. Put it on top of the existing loop. You now have 2 loops there. Take the working yarn and lay it over the 2 pegs and knit off using that knit 2 together, and ta-da, you're done with that row. Row 12 is super easy. All you're going to do is knit the row, and you guys already know how to do this. In my case, in this direction, I always like to use the U-wrap. Remember, you can use the flat or the true. Just knit the row. For row 13, you're going to knit 1, purl 8, and then knit 1. So knit 1, and then you guys know how to do the purls. So count off 8 of them. And once you've done your 8 purls, you're going to do 1 knit stitch, and that finishes that row. And now all you're going to do is repeat rows 12 and 13 2 more times, and this is what it looks like. On 14, you're going to knit the row, and 15, knit 1, purl 8, knit 1, and then 16, you're going to knit the row, and then knit 1, purl 8, knit 1 on 17. Row 18 takes us back to these knits, and so we're going to knit 1, E-wrap 1, knit 6, E-wrap 1, and then knit 1. Super easy for you guys. So let's start with that first knit stitch. I'm using the U-wrap. Then we're going to completely wrap the peg, knit off. That's your E-wrap, and then your knit stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and that you're going to follow with a E-wrap. Completely wrap your peg and knit off, and then finish the row with 1 knit stitch. We now move on to row 19, and for this row you're going to knit 1, yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 4, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 1. And we're going to move a little quicker on these yarn overs than we have before. Alright, so let's start with that first knit stitch, and then the yarn over comes first. So we take the loop off the peg and move it over to where we're doing the knit 2 together. Take the working yarn, lay it over that empty peg, onto the next one, knit off those knit 2 together, and then you're going to do 4 knit stitches in this direction. I'm going to use the flat. You can use the U or the true. And then on next you need a knit 2 together followed by a yarn over. So take the loop off the yarn over peg, bring it to the knit 2 together, take the working yarn and lay it over those 2 loops, knit them off, and then take the working yarn and lay it over the empty peg and anchor it to the next peg, which is your knit 1. You're done with that row, and now you're ready for row 20, where you're going to knit 2, E-wrap 1, knit 4, E-wrap 1, and finish the row with 2 knit stitches. After my edge, I do those 2 knit stitches using the U-wrap, then completely wrap the next peg and knit off for my E-wrap. Follow that with 4 knit stitches, and I'm doing U. You could do a flat or a true version of the knit stitch. So there's my 3, here's knit 4, and then E-wrap 1. Finish the row with 2 knit stitches, and then you're ready for row 21. So before going any further, I have to stop right here and say you are awesome. You've stayed with me for 21 rows. We still have some more to go, but let me tell you what you have for row 21. You have a knit 2, yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 2, knit 2 together. I love saying that. Yarn over, and then finish the row with 2 knit stitches. All right, let's get busy. After my edge, I have those 2 knit stitches. So 1, 2, and then my yarn over. So I take the loop off the peg, unravel it, move it to the next peg, which is where I'm going to be doing my knit 2 together. So my 2 loops are there. I take my working yarn and put it over the 2 loops, knit off, and then do 2 knit stitches right here. And then to follow, I'm going to need a knit 2 together and a yarn over. So I take the loop off the yarn over peg and bring it over to the knit 2 together, knit those 2 loops off, yarn over the peg, and end the row. Ta-da! 2 knit stitches. You know it. For row 22, you're going to knit 3, E-wrap 1, knit 2, E-wrap 1, and knit 3. Start with the 3 knit stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. Then wrap the next peg completely for your E-wrap 1, knit off, do 2 knit stitches, 1 and then 2, follow that with an E-wrap, so completely wrap your peg, bottom loop over the top, and then you're ending with 3 knit stitches. For row 23, you will knit 3, yarn over, knit 2 together, and knit 2 together again, yarn over, knit 3. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, so first the knit 3, and I'm having a bit of a hard time because I had to move my camera position, but no biggie, we keep moving because now we have to do a yarn over, knit 2 together. So take the loop off that one peg, move it over to the next one, and now you have 2 on that peg. Stretch your working yarn over and knit off those 2 loops, and then now you need the opposite. So skip 1 peg, go get the yarn over and bring it to your knit 2 together peg, knit off those 2 loops, take your working yarn over the peg, and then knit the next 3 stitches. Alright, you're good. You're then ready for row 24, which is super easy because all you have to do is knit the row, and one extra awesome thing about 24, it's the last stitch on the pattern. So once you finish knitting your row, then the next step is just to repeat rows 1 through 24 as necessary for your project. But don't run away yet, because as I promised, I'm going to tell you how I went from pink to yellow and yellow to green by doing a color change. Alright, so what I do after I finish repeating my stitch pattern is I cut my working yarn and bring the new color, which I wrap the old color around the new one, and then I bring it nice and tight to the peg and I secure it by making a simple knot. And I personally like to go one step further and do a second knot. Then all you have to do is you're going to then knit 2 rows in the new color. And the reason you do that is to keep from having dashes, because once you start the stitch pattern again, if you don't do these 2 rows, you're going to have dashes. Alright guys, that's it. I hope you like this pattern as much as I do. Please remember to like, share, and if possible, comment. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss anything. And then you can come back and loom with me again. Alright guys, till next time.